Hi everyone, after spending a fair amount of time with the Division's Underground DLC over these past 2 weeks, I've decided to sit down and tell you my thoughts on it and whether I would recommend playing it. The DLC offers a new Underground mode with randomly generated levels, a new incursion called Dragon's Nest, as well as new gear sets, 4 of which are exclusive to DLC owners. The only set available to all players is the Alpha Bridge set. Ooh. Nice. Let's start off with the positives. The new Underground mode provides an alternative to the Dark Zone, which is especially great for players who prefer PvE or want to take a break from PvP. It also provides a new challenge for existing players. As you level up in the Underground, new directives are unlocked, which are ways to make the mode more challenging in return for more loot and experience. These can include eliminating the minimap, as well as one that slowly drains health over time. I found from my experience that the Underground really demands teamwork, and completing these missions can feel rewarding at times. In addition to an item drop from the final boss, as well as items rewarded for completing an operation, a guaranteed chest can be found at the end of a level. Other chests may even be found in certain areas, such as where civilians can be found resting. Players will also be given an Underground cache upon leveling up. There's also the new Dragon's Nest incursion, which I feel has a unique pacing when compared to the other previously released incursions, and now that its heroic mode has been released, it has now become a potential source of items for high gear score players.
Jesus. This thing wouldn't be worth a priceless parts on its best day. Man, this is not its best day.
Stay inside the...
Hold on. Power it down before it breaks a track mechanism.
Now, let's go over the negatives. There are of course bugs present, but one notable bug that still hasn't been fixed concerns the Alpha Bridge set. Stats are missing, and for a friend of mine, his Alpha Bridge gloves ended up having an unusually high stamina stat. I also want to mention the Firecrest and Fabric items that are prevalent in the Underground. For the amount of time and effort that goes into completing these missions, the type of loot that is often obtained can be very discouraging. In addition, crafting has become irrelevant for high gear score players, as the selection of 268 gear blueprints is very limited, and no 229 weapon blueprints are available as of yet. And lastly, while the Underground is a possible alternative for obtaining items, the Dark Zone is really still the best way to obtain items, Phoenix credits, and crafting materials efficiently. Now that I've told you my thoughts, would I recommend it? Well, it really depends on whether you already own the game and whether you enjoy it. As with the base game, the most fun can be had when playing with a group of friends. You can share gear, and that helps to somewhat alleviate the issue with how difficult it can be to find good items. You can also better communicate, and this will be especially important when completing Underground missions with multiple phases and directives. That being said, I do not recommend it for players who plan on playing solo, as good gear can be very difficult to acquire, and it may be difficult to find a good team that is both friendly enough to share items and persistent enough to get through the most difficult missions. If you don't yet own the game, I recommend holding back and waiting for a sale, or at least when the newer expansions are released, and you can get a better idea of whether you'd like to invest your time, effort, and money into it. Unless you have a dedicated group of friends to play it with, I find it very difficult to recommend buying the DLC, and even the game itself. If you'd like to see some gameplay to help you decide, I have a gameplay video on my channel for an Underground mission with 2 phases and 4 directives. I will leave a link to it on screen. If you enjoyed my brief review of the Underground DLC and would like to see other reviews like this one in the future, be sure to let me know. And I'd also like to hear your thoughts on the Underground DLC and the Division as a whole. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer them.